Yo, there's Britt here, and we are about to take a closer look at her. Take a closer look at her. Take a look at... It's not funny. I thought I'd wear my salmon colored shirt today because of the movie. So it was written and directed by Spike Jonze with cinematography by Hoyte Van Hoytema. I hope I said his name right. If I didn't say your name right, Hoyte, I'm sorry. If you want to understand the psychology behind camera placement, camera movement, framing, etc., it really helps to study other movies. Every movie is pretty much a textbook. Well, I do believe it about that time. Let's get into it. Opening shot. So the very first shot we see of the entire movie is an intimately tight close-up of Theodore as he spouts off sweet nothings.
Hi, Chris. I've been thinking how I could possibly tell you how much I remember when I first started to fall in love with you like it was last night.
It's intentionally close for a couple of reasons. One, to mask his location. We're completely focused on Theodore in what seems like a genuine moment, but what he says doesn't make any kind of sense after a while. We naturally start asking questions like, where are we? What is he doing? And then we get the reveal, he's at work. Two, they do it for comedic effect. Because we have no sense of where he is or what he's doing, when he says this line,
You make me feel like the girl I was when you first turned on the lights and woke me up, and we started this adventure together.
it's funny. I don't think that line would have been as funny if we knew he was at work. Awkward shot. I just wanted to point this out. Theodore is on his way home from work and we get this really oddly framed shot.
Check emails.
Email from Best Buy. Check out all your favorite new products.
Really?
Theodore, Lumen's having a bunch of people over this weekend.
It's a little odd because we're cutting Theo off mid-thigh, but I think they framed it this way so that we can see the Shanghai skyline. If you don't know, they accomplished this futuristic LA look by shooting in Shanghai. Color palette. We gotta talk about that color palette. This movie is super pretty to look at, but a lot of the beauty comes from the production design choices, the wardrobe choices, and the overall color scheme, and the color palette plays a huge role in kind of tying all these things together. Look at this shot. The drapes are a wash of warm colors in the back. The office windows at Theodore's job have similar colors. The stack of papers here, a soft wash of colors, all similar. Theodore wears this maroon shirt 11 times, this checkered maroon and gray shirt 6 times, this pastel blue shirt 7 times, a salmon colored shirt 5 times, and this yellow shirt 3 times. They followed a carefully crafted color scheme here. It's no surprise that his shirts match many of the props and locations. Even the extras' wardrobe choices follow that color scheme. Meeting the EOS. In this scene, Theodore installs his new operating system, soon to be named Samantha. Let's take a peek.
We'd like to ask you a few basic questions before the operating system is initiated. This will help.
As Theo installs OS 1 and goes through the initial questionnaire, we're on one side of the eye line. When the OS is about to boot up, we push in on the screen for anticipation and dramatic effect. And then when Theo and Samantha meet, we hop the eye line to the other side for the rest of the scene. Because of the change in visuals, the scene looks and feels different from the rest of the scene. The eye line I'm talking about here is between Theodore and the computer. Every time I see filmmakers messing around with the eye line, I try to point it out because there's like a million ways that you can mess with eye lines for dramatic effect. Sex talk. So Theodore went on a date. That date didn't go well. He ends up back at home talking to Samantha, and then things get super hot and steamy. This scene is a little over 5.5 minutes, lots of talking. Let's take a look. So the first beat of the scene, Theodore sits on the bed and gives Samantha a brief rundown of the date. Then when the conversation moves to Samantha and Theodore sharing their feelings, Theodore gets in bed.
What are you doing? What's going on with you?
Not much, I'm okay. Fine.
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I don't know.
We alternate between a straight profile close-up of Theodore and an overhead close-up of him as they talk. When the conversation turns intimate, and by intimate I mean sexual, we get an even closer overhead shot of Theodore. We're pretty much framed so close we're cutting off right at the forehead and chin.
I wish you were in this room with me right now. I could put my arms around you.
How would you touch me?
The other shot of him changes slightly as well. We were directly profile, but now we move to more of a 3/4 profile shot of Theo. Then, of course, when they really get into it, we get super close on Theo's face. Visually, they're making really small adjustments in framing as the conversation moves along, but these small adjustments really punctuate the progression of the conversation, making each beat feel and look a little different. Also worth noting, the acting is super strong. I think the cutaways help keep us engaged, but it's still really impressive for one actor to hold our attention on the screen for that long. The flow. In this scene, we're catching Theodore do his thing in his writing flow, then it gets interrupted for comedic effect. Let's see how they communicate it visually.
Tell me about the guy at work who talked too much. Tell me about a funny thought you had when you were waking up but had forgotten.
We get this curved dolly around Theodore's cubicle as he works his usual magic writing love letters for clients. The dolly move mimics his mindset. He's in the zone, he's moving, he's got his flow, then this happens.
Love, Maria.
That's beautiful.
Theo's chugging away, he's got that momentum going on, and visually, the visuals are moving to communicate that momentum as well, but just when he takes a breather, his coworker wrecks it. His writer's flow is broken, the camera move itself has stopped, and we also have that edit, which also punctuates that abruptness. The divorce. Theodore and his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, meet over lunch to sign some divorce papers. I just want to point out some light and stuff. The initial wide shot of their meeting, shot high noonish, notice the direction of the sunlight. Their initial meet and hug, shot later in the day, notice again the direction of the sunlight. Their actual conversation, shot at high noon with a silk over the actor's head to soften the sunlight, notice the direction of the light, directly overhead. There's probably a white card on the table or just the white tablecloth bouncing light into their faces. The actual document signing, shot later in the day, perhaps a pickup, notice the direction of the sunlight, no longer overhead, right? The second wide shot, again, shot later in the day, notice the direction of the sunlight. This conversation was literally shot at different times of day to maximize the lighting, but when it's done right, you don't even really notice. People do this all the time. Zoom, zoom. Theo met his wife and things got awkward when he told her he was dating an OS. Long story short, Theo starts having doubts about the whole thing. The next time he talks to Samantha, things are all off. They choose to zoom in on Theodore 2 times during the course of the scene.
Hey there. You busy?
I'm just working. What's going on?
He was very relieved to get them, though. I think we saved him from a massive heart attack, so we can both feel really good about that. Hey. You okay?
Yeah, I am. How's it going over there?
Everything under it's the same age. We're all 13 billion years old.
Oh, that's
You
sweet.
know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I think it's great.
And we also zoom in on his phone. You rarely see zooms in narrative storytelling, so why did they choose to use a zoom here instead of a push in, which is what you would normally see? Theodore is in a strange predicament. He's in love with software and he's feeling really weird about it. You rarely ever see zooms in filmmaking. So here they're punctuating an uncommon predicament in an uncommon way. The argument. After a failed attempt at intimacy, Samantha and Theodore have their first argument. They do some interesting things here with the cutaways. As Theo and Sam talk, we cut away to what seems like random images. We get concrete, a woman walking away in a dark alley, steam emerging from a manhole cover. The cutaways to these shots aren't motivated by Theodore because he's not actually looking at these things. So why are these shots here? I think that they're there to help set a tone for the scene. Theodore and Samantha aren't in a good place in their relationship right now, and these images sort of visually parallel that. We're cutting away to grimy, stark images, like concrete, a manhole cover with steam coming out. These aren't exactly inviting images. The boiling teapot. Samantha introduces Theodore to Mr. Watts. She's been talking to him for some time now, and Theodore gets a little jealous. As the conversation goes on, Theodore stares at a teapot on the stove, and we get a slow zoom in on that boiling kettle.
It's hard to even describe it. Theodore, do you mind if I communicate with Alan post-verbally?
No, not at all. I was just gonna go for a walk anyway. It was very nice to meet you, Mr. Watts.
We've seen this before in other movies. The teapot is sort of kind of representative of his emotional state because he's a little pissed off. I mean, he feels like he's being left out. We've heard this whole teapot effect applied to cartoon characters when they get angry. The association between anger and a boiling tea kettle, there's nothing new there. I mean, that goes way back. But the interesting thing that they've done here is they've managed to incorporate a tea kettle into the scene organically. And we get a slow zoom in on that boiling kettle. Strange situation punctuated in an uncommon visual way. Well, I do believe that is about it. If you're interested in feedback on your films or scripts, I also do some consulting. I will leave a link in the description section so you can get more details on that. Well, that's all I got for you. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, go subscribe. You can find me on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or the Twitter, baby. You can also check out my second YouTube channel, Darius Britt, where I vlog about my adventures on the film festival circuit, my first feature-length film, unsound live casting vlogs, etc., etc. I do believe that's all I got for you suckers. D-Britt out. Booyah!